The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everyone had a wonderful Easter. And it's April Fool's Day. And I was going to do a prank or something. I don't know. I don't even know what it was going to be. But then I was like, you know what? I don't think we can handle it. We're living April Fool's Day every day. Gosh, basically since 2020, right? Yeah, so I decided against that. And instead, I realized I need to do the monthly recap for all the videos in March, all the podcast episodes in March. God, it's April already. We're a quarter of the way through the year. It's Q2. Holy guacamole. Anyway, actually, Q2 is going to be a good one because I am taking this thing to the next level. I really am. I've got some things that I'm working on that I will absolutely let you guys know about here soon. And we're going to take it to that next level like we talked about. All right. So today I'm going to do a recap of the March episodes. And, the point of this is for those of you that are active listeners, it'll just kind of maybe refresh your memory a little bit in terms of the previous episodes for that month. Maybe you missed an episode and you can go back and give it a listen. And then anyone that's a new listener, I send this out to various places and, just gives people a chance to, I guess, try it before you buy it. Although you don't have to buy anything. This will just give you a chance to listen and kind of see what we talk about on this. And hopefully that piques your interest enough to become a regular listener. So, all right, let's get started. Episode number 113. This was a continuation of 112, and it kind of finished on the Aaron Bushnell, that airman that unfortunately set himself on fire. And you know what? It's like I said when it happened. I mean, think about it. We're a month out from that, and nobody's talking about that poor kid anymore. And so, it speaks to everything I said during those episodes where, people just forget, and I wish he had not done that. Anyway, this episode also talked about Kamala Harris, who got really, really adamant about this ceasefire, although I can't say much has changed, even though we are in a ceasefire with Ramadan, the Ramadan Islam holiday, which is coming to an end here in several days. So I think things are gonna pick up again over there. So we shall see. Episode 113 also touched a little bit on the resurgence of crypto. This is when crypto started kind of coming back into the mix, and I equated it a little bit to whether this is going to be, maybe the beginning of the central bank digital currency stuff. Episode 114, this one actually should have been 113, but this was just a recap of the February episodes. So if you want to hear the February episodes, number 102 to 112, you can listen to episode 114. Episode number 115, this was actually a very unfortunate episode for me because it was about the cyber outage that took place on Instagram and Facebook. And then coming out of that cyber outage, the deep shallow dive, Instagram especially, was throttled. And I was put in Instagram jail, which I'm still in actually, which is annoying. And my 45,000 follower base, which was growing at a clip of around maybe 12 to 1,500 a day, is no longer growing at that clip. It's literally not growing at all. So I'm still right around the same 45,000 number, which again is unfortunate. So anyway, hopefully I'll get let out of Instagram jail here pretty soon. That's pretty annoying, that entire situation. All right, episode 116. This was the State of the Union analysis. This was President Biden's State of the Union analysis, which, again, I hate to say it. I mean, again, if you're a pro-Biden, pro-Democrat fan, the guy delivered on that State of the Union analysis. He did. I mean, there's a lot of talk that he was hopped up on something or hyped up on something. Who knows? But 116 talked about the State of the Union. Episode number 117, this was right after the Oscars and obviously the incredibly controversial speech by director Jonathan Glazer. So we talked all about that. We touched on the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, and then also talked about the continuation of the TikTok debate and really what's going on with the attempt of banning TikTok, which again, to me, is a Trojan horse in order to bring the Restrict Act, which we've talked about several times, bring that back into the mix. And again, things are going to get crazy as we get closer and closer to November and the election. Things are going to get crazy. All right, episode 118. This was really highlighting President Biden and President Trump and RFK Jr. And then this was the beginning of the royal scandal, which obviously developed out further, but this was when Kate Middleton did the faux pas by putting out a photoshopped Mother's Day graphic. So that's episode 118. Episode 119, this was Senator Chuck Schumer. This was when he really went Game of Thrones on the Senate floor and basically called for the resignation of Benjamin Netanyahu. So this one was definitely interesting. We also touched on Aaron Rodgers in this. We also touched on the no more 6% on real estate commissions and a little bit more on TikTok as well. So episode 119 was really a variety of different topics. Episode number 120, this was when Trump talked about, or he said the word bloodbath in his speech, but then it got completely misconstrued and taken out of context. He was referring to the auto industry, but it's a good episode because it really shows you the power, the power of the mainstream media and really the narratives they are able to create even through misrepresentation. So 120 is, interesting to get an understanding of those. There's some really good clips in there. And then it also talked about President Obama being in London, which honestly I thought was mainly to, figure out what the plan is with Israel. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, episode 121. This one was called Global Chess, RFK Jr., Blinken, Netanyahu, and Billions in Foreign Aid. This actually is another good episode, and it's really, continues to try and unmask the power of the military-industrial complex and beyond. It starts off with a great speech by RFK Jr., and so that one's another good one to kind of get a big picture understanding. I also talk about how much insane foreign aid we give to various countries and places you wouldn't consider, especially those in the Middle East. Okay, episode number 122. This was a DSD in 5, which actually should be called a DSD in 6 because it was roughly 6 minutes. But this was after the UN Security Council finally demanded an immediate Gaza ceasefire, which has sort of happened, and it's coincided with the Ramadan holiday. But honestly, I'm telling you right now, Ramadan ends on Tuesday evening, April 9th. And I'm telling you, let's see if I'm right on this one. I bet you on April 10th, there's a major invasion in Rafah. And then that begins the beginning of the end of this war. I do think this thing might ideally come to an end after that. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. Netanyahu went in for hernia surgery. Oh my God, there was some funny stuff about that. But he went in for hernia surgery, so that's interesting. So we'll see what happens once Ramadan ends on the night of the 9th. Let's see what happens on the 10th. Okay, episode 123. This touched more on the royal family, CNN and Netanyahu. And man, this was the beginning of Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, on the run. So this was talking a little bit about all that stuff with Diddy, which is kind of ongoing. Man, they're really coming for him with both barrels. So we'll see what happens on that. Episode number 124. Man, this is the unfortunate Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. And then I do touch on Ramadan a little bit here, explaining it. And this also has an appearance from the one and only Ray DAI at the end, which is actually funny, hopefully. But anyway, this Francis Scott Key Bridge, I mean, God, that is just crazy. That is just crazy. I don't know if you guys are watching like the recovery efforts and like trying to like clean that up. Oh my God, that is like just massive, massive amounts of steel. And gosh, that cannot be a pleasant job. All right, and then finally, episode number 125. This kind of touched a little bit more on, the bridge collapse. And then this also talked about President Trump hawking $60 Bibles. And I really talked about how I do think that, one of the things that could be in play in terms of massive global disruption is some type of holy war. I mean, really some type of holy war between, it's really got to be between Christians and Muslims. And then I have to imagine the Jewish faith, which again, I only bring them up because of what's going on in Israel, but those guys obviously would side with the Christian side of things. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like one of the things that, like I said, could be in play again from like a global disruption standpoint is this religious holy war concept. The other thing that could be in play, which is funny, I've talked about this a little bit before, but man, the show Designated Survivor on Netflix starring Kiefer Sutherland, which debuted September 2016 and had three seasons, and the third season was in 2019. So this was before all of the 2020 stuff and all of COVID and everything that's happened in the past 4 years. And I am going to do an episode on this because it's pretty crazy. If you're looking for a good show, Designated Survivor on Netflix, it has 3 seasons. It's pretty good. And man, there's a lot of things that it shows in those 3 seasons. Now, remember, season 1 was basically from 2016 to 2019. So in those 3 seasons, it really showed so much of what happened in the next 4 years from 2020 to 2025, which is pretty fascinating. I mean, I don't want to ruin the show for you, but well, I guess if I do an episode on it, I pretty much would ruin the show for you. But let's just say so many of the things that have taken place were shown in that show again prior to them taking place. I'll give you one example. There ended up being a female black vice president. I thought that was pretty interesting. There was another part that delved all into transgender bathroom issues. That was interesting. I mean, again, those are things that happened in the show before they happened on a grand scale in real life. So anyway, I'll end it there. And that's about it. All right. This is the March recap episode. Hope everybody enjoyed their Easter. We'll talk more about, ironically, the transgender issue with Easter and the announcement the Biden administration made, I believe, on Friday. That was pretty crazy. Actually, let me talk about it real quick right now. So basically on Friday, it looked like the Biden administration came out and also declared Sunday as Transgender Day of Visibility. And so, yeah, I think he released this on Friday. And I mean, it caused an uproar. And you know what? I mean, deservedly so. Obviously Easter is a tremendous holiday for the Christian religion as it, embodies the resurrection of Christ. And so again, not to dive into this too deep right now, but it's just like I'm totally cool with having a transgender day of visibility. That's completely fine. Absolutely. Let's have that if that's something you want. I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. But why pick it on the same day as Easter? And why wait until the Friday before Easter to make that announcement. You know what I mean? That's just like, you're just like poking the bear with that. And, that's why. And the weird thing is, I think Biden supposedly is like a Christian. So that just didn't make sense to me. I have no idea why they chose to make that Sunday, the same day as Easter, the, transgender visibility day. Make it next Sunday. Why not this coming Sunday or this coming Saturday or really any day besides Easter? So like that stuff is weird to me. That's the stuff that really makes me be like, okay, man, what is the play with that? Like that doesn't make any sense. If anybody has any information on that I'm missing, I tried to understand, is there any significance to yesterday? But there's not, it was almost like that was done on purpose to poke the bear, like I said, or to just cause controversy and to get people pissed off. And I don't know, maybe to ruin Easter for some people, which I hope it didn't. But anyway, I found that odd. We'll tackle that a little bit more in more episodes this week. But that's about it, everybody. Call a spade, and we'll catch up with you soon.
The ending was terrific.
This episode is being brought to you by the upcoming book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You. That's right, Bro wrote a book, and it's coming soon. Stay tuned.